Good morning, everyone. This is Reverend Bobby. And today on the journey, I have my good friend and Morehouse brother, Sydney Simmons. How are you doing this morning, Sydney?
Hey man, everything is everything. I'm good. How you doing, Rev?
Oh, man, all is well, all is well. Listen, give the people a little snippet about Sydney.
Oh man, let me see. Well, if I make it to July, and I'm just saying that very facetiously because I sure plan on making it, I'm going to be entering into my seventh decade of being around here. So, Bobby, you got me by a couple of years, but that's all right.
That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, I'm happy to be able to say that I've made it this far during the journey. Um, as you mentioned before, I'm a product of Chicago public school system, Kenwood High School class of 1973, then finished Morehouse College class of 1978. I opted out for the 5-year plan, you understand?
I do.
And I have I've done quite a myriad of things. Been a school teacher, worked in media for many years, and settled in the culinary industry that I've been actively involved in now for over 30 years.
That's a heck of a thing. My current girlfriend just finished pastry chef school,
Okay,
and she keeps bringing stuff over here talking about try it. I'll be like, I am not going on my 600-pound life.
right. No, man, that pastry and that's a heck of that's a heck of an art right there. People ask me all the time about baking and do a lot of baking, and I tell them that was the one course in culinary school that almost got me thrown out.
Hmm,
You
hmm.
know, um,
Well, she's one of them precise, detailed people, and and she could do it,
right.
because she has that kind of patience that I never would have.
No, you got to have patience, and you got to be, like, say, precise. Pastry basically is a science.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a science. So there's no, dash of this and a dash of that, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You got to have exact measurements and exact times, temperatures, all of that, which I did not want to be bothered with. Now, don't get me wrong, I can.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
in fact, just before I was talking with you, I was talking with my kid's mother, and she's on me about making them some banana nut bread because she doesn't like to buy the store bought stuff because of all the preservatives and
Right.
chemicals and things, which is understandable. But I was just telling my daughter, I said, I just thought about it, but to make banana bread, I got to find old bananas. I'm not going out this cold searching out no old bananas. So I'll put that on the back burner.
Hey, I do understand. But listen, along the way on the journey and the 5-year plan and all those wonderful things, uh, when you hit a wall or had, something that, kind of stuck you for a minute, what did you use? How did you get through that?
I think it all goes back to being raised by parents who kind of prepared you that life was not always going to be easy, that things were not always going to go as planned. Um, and sometimes you just have to step back, take a deep breath, and just say, hey, look, it's going to be all right. Let me rethink this. I may have to reroute some things. And it goes back to that. Now, along the way, um, dealing with life circumstances and all the time that didn't happen. A
Right.
lot of times, you get frustrated, um, get angry at things, want to blame certain situations, and why is this and why is that? And I went through that a fair amount of times. But later in life, I was fortunate enough to come across a man by the name of Bob Keller. Bob Keller was my counselor when I was going through recovery, when I was going through rehab. He also became my sponsor. And one of the lessons that I learned from Bob that I use to this day, he would say, Sidney, always remember, you can start your day over at any time.
The processes in rehabs and stuff, and shifting the way that you look at yourself and you look at life, did that come easy for you?
Surprisingly, yes. And I tell you why. I didn't realize it at the time, but just before I went in, I was in a deep depression. Didn't know what was going on with me. I thought I was losing my mind. When I finally did come to terms with what I needed to do, and surprisingly, that happened in Cook County Jail. I'd been arrested, probably something drug or alcohol related. I can't remember, it's so far back now. But I woke up and I looked at those cold gray walls in Cook County Jail and said to myself, Sidney, you have become everything that your parents taught you not to be. And it hit me, man. I said, this has got to stop. So during the process, when I got into my first, not recovery home, but detox center, I was meeting cats who were talking about, oh man, this is my third or fourth time here. Some people were talking about their fifth or sixth. And I was like, you all gotta be crazy. Why would you want to put yourself through this 5 and 6 times, 3 or 4 times? I'm like, I'm one and done.
Yeah.
And the person who arranged for me to get in was my next door neighbor where I grew up. She, at one point, she's retired now, but she was the Illinois State Director over Rehabilitative Services. She's the one who sent out funding to all the different rehab centers through the state. She picked up the phone, got me a bed. I didn't have a dime, no insurance, nothing. I was in the next day. And she said to me, I'm going to give you 1 relapse. That's all I'm going to give you.
Yeah, because it is part of the process.
It's part of the process. But I can say that I have never traded that relapse in.
I hear you. I hear you, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just doing mine.
Right. No. I have never traded that relapse in. And it's been, it'll be 24 years next month. So just from looking at people going in and out and I was like, man, I don't want to put myself through that. You know, I said, I've been through enough pain that this thing can cause. I want to see what the other side is really all about. And I've been on the other side, like I said, now for 24 years.
So how do you like the other side of through? I mean, trust me, I know the discipline and the focus and the perseverance and the endurance it took you to get through it. I'm not, taking that lightly at all, Sidney, trust me. But how does it feel now that you're on the other side?
It feels good, man. It's an accomplishment that no matter what else happens in life, and there's going to be risks, there's going to be failures, and I think part of what you learn through this is, in order to advance, there's going to be some risks.
Yeah.
But when you have the failures, there's no need to fall back on the substances that you used to think would get you through. And if anything else, never comes to fruition, the things that I may want to do and whatnot, I always have that to fall back on.
Well,
You understand what I'm saying? I got that. I can say, well, at least I accomplished this, and that was major.
but you see, and my situation was similar in the dark night of the soul part of my life, right?
Right.
So my best friend, Reverend Vimatis Jackson here, who I did them 18 years of extended hand ministry with homeless per se, but it was a lot of substance abuse, substance abusers, lot of ex um people that got caught up with the law and stuff like
Right.
that,
Ex-cons, yeah.
yeah, and veterans and stuff, and you see this stuff running through. But for the ones who made it through, and I was talking to another one of my Morehouse brothers because we came up, as you said, raised early on. Don't be an embarrassment to the family. Don't embarrass the race. We have some substantive things that we could fall back on. And what kind of difference do you think that made, that you did have this, as you heard people, because that was their way of life, the cycle in and cycle out,
Right.
because it was a way of life for them and not for us per se.
Mm-hmm. If I think I understand the question right, run that by me one more time.
Okay, what difference did it make by you having the foundational
Oh, the
stuff
foundation.
on? Yeah, and
Yeah.
moving you through, instead of being like the people that psycho recidivism in prison, the back and forth stuff that continues as a way of life, where you was just passing through.
And it's funny because I look back on it now, because as I grow older, you may have gone through this period of time when you were feeling rebellious, you wanted to spread your wings, you were smelling yourself as a youngster, and your parents would be on you trying to guide you and give them that wisdom that they had, and you'd be saying to yourself, because you dare not say it to them, I don't want to hear all that. I ain't never gonna be like y'all. I'm doing my thing. And then as you go through the process and you begin to fall back on that wisdom that was given, you realize how much truth was in it. You say, man, damn, mom and dad made a whole lot of sense now. And now that I'm in my 70s, I laugh because I find myself sounding more and more like them than I ever thought that I would. In passing on the same kind of wisdom and knowledge that they gave me, I try to pass on to mine.
Right.
And it's all the same lessons.
Well, it is, because people thought I had an easy life because I'm kind of loosey goosey, lackadaisical, that kind of stuff. But my daddy, Morehouse man, was disciplinarian at Mosley, and when Mosley closed, disciplinarian at Montefiore, who threatened my life about showing up somewhere like that for acting a fool.
Right, yeah.
So it meant something to me. I only went so far, but we always do that. But as you say, as we grow older, because I was talking to Stephanie, my friend from Atlanta, she said, Bobby, we now the elders.
Yep.
We are the wisdom holders. And how does this new role fit in with you? How do you like it?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'm fortunate enough, I've got children at an older age. I work with a lot of young people. I work with a lot of older people too. It's a good mix. But being able to mentor, and I think that's one thing. One of my regrets is that I didn't stay in education longer. But during the time when I was teaching high school and whatnot, I was going through the thing that eventually led me to having to go into rehab. I just didn't realize it at the time, and so I messed that up. But I enjoy probably the teaching and mentoring aspect of what I do as much as I do the cooking and the feeding and the nurturing, because it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to work with younger people, pass on some pearls of wisdom. And like I try to tell them, I'm not trying to direct anybody's life, but here's some things that you may want to consider. You
Yes.
know, I always approach it that way. Um, even in my professional life, if I see somebody doing something that I think maybe they can show some improvements to, I've never approached them and say, don't do that way, do that this way. I said, let me suggest this to you.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Let-
submission. Let me submit to you that you might want to
right,
consider, frame it all like that. Real
right, yeah.
soft. Real
Yes, and
soft.
because the final decision is going to be up to you anyway.
Right.
But here's some things that I can give you from my experiences that may be of some help to you. So from that standpoint, I enjoy it. I was telling someone at work the other day, we were discussing something. I've got a particular cook who is pretty hot-headed. And she doesn't have a lot of patience for people who are maybe not as gifted as she is, or may not pick up on things as fast as she does, and it frustrates her and she goes off the deep end. And we were having a conversation one on one, and I was trying to talk her down off the ledge.
I know, right?
And I was like, listen, let me tell you a philosophy that I've always carried, even from the time that I taught school. You're always going to come across some people who are going to frustrate you, may not be as gifted as you are, but if you keep this in mind, it might be helpful. And she said, well, okay, chef, what is that? I said, each one teach one. Now just think about that and go about your merry way, and then come back when it finally sinks in. So she went up, she came back, she says, I understand. I understand. I said, good, just always keep that in mind.
Yeah, I was out west visiting my son, and he does all that. He's in the business.
Yeah.
I might have shared that they movie is on Prime Video. His wife couldn't find nobody to produce her film because she writes and produces, and Brandon produces, and he's on the technical end. So he dropped everything and did the movie for his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I was asking him leaving the house one day because he's really good. And I asked him when I was leaving the house one day, I said, when are you going to start teaching? And he looked at me and he said, I've never thought about it. I said, well, you got to start teaching so that you can hand down what you know.
Right.
And down. And I think that brings us some type of fulfillment. And as we are fulfilled, we just feel better, and it helps us do better in life.
Yeah.
Um
It helps you do better, and it also, in some small way, and it could be more than a small way, it helps secure your legacy.
well, it's in more than a small way. It's in a bigger way than sometimes we realize at the time. I know that as I've moved through life and see them rascals who was knee high to my ankle, they're seniors in college and doing well. And Reverend Bobby, I remember, and this, that, and sometimes, I had the teenagers. So and we had the upper room upstairs, and sometimes things would go on up there. One incident happened, and it stayed there. Nobody said nothing or anything. But you put something in them early, and it seems to help them make it through. And one of the reasons I'm trying to do this is because sometimes I see that people don't have too much foundational stuff, and it's really important. And wanting some of the people I know who've been through a journey to share, because as you know now, it's going to be most important because it's kind of nutty out here these days.
Oh, listen, it's crazy as it can be. It's at the stage now that I put up a post this morning from Roland Martin. And I put on the preface on there, stay woke, because, they trying to make it seem like being woke is some kind of affront to society. And just because we came up with it, and I said, look, stay woke don't mean nothing but stay aware.
That's all.
That's all it is. Just stay aware. Be aware of what the hell is going on, because I've been telling people, especially us, and those who understand what's going on, get your marching shoes ready because it's coming.
Well, it was like this, and we came from a lot of stuff, and we know a lot of stuff, and the things we see are like textbook.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. It's nothing different. But I saw the Say Roland Martin post, and I said I put on there, look, bro, on your behalf, you can say them breaths, because those are the same breaths. We've all been trying to breathe into the situational stuff for a long time, and don't seem to get any much traction. But we still have to do it. And what keeps you going? What keeps you, as they used to say in the old days, in fighting the good fight?
Man, listen, just wanting to see things better for the generation coming up behind us, and not allowing the powers that be to think that they can just run roughshod over everything that has been accomplished thus far. I'm not saying that everything is perfect. I debate with people all the time about the benefits as well as the deficiencies of integration, the things we gained, but the things that we really lost, that we got to try to. All those things are the things that keep me motivated to say, look, come on, man, we got to keep going. And then just life itself, Bobby, just life itself. I mean, having been through all the things, the journey, as we like to put it, we know it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile to put up the good fight. It's worthwhile because life every day as we know it is ain't promised to us, and it's a precious commodity. And as I was telling someone at work the other day, we just can't allow people just to run roughshod over it.
When did you learn life was a precious commodity? Because we rolled hard and we didn't think about that when we was 19.
Oh man, let me see. I think in the beginning, coming up, it was instilled in us, but of course we had to experiment and do all the things that we had to do to get back to that point. And I fully began to appreciate it probably that first year of complete sobriety. And I tell you how.
Tell me how, Sidney.
Well, I mean, here's a prime example. And because a lot of people have never realized this story, this here.
Yeah.
Because I had, like I said before, observed and witnessed so many people falling off the wagon. I lost a lot of friends that I was in rehab with, those who couldn't make it and ultimately died because of it.
Right.
I was always interested in locking my hair, even in college. I used to run. You remember Big Wendell from Detroit?
From Detroit, yeah.
From Flint.
Yeah.
He used to try to tell me how I could lock my hair. It never happened. It just wasn't the right time. So during that first year, I sat down and I made a deal with the universe. I said, if you'll get me through this first year without a relapse, I will show my appreciation by locking my hair and never cutting it again. So I got 24 years worth of lock right here. You know.
That's see that right there too, Sidney, making a commitment to yourself. A lot of times I see people don't make commitment outwardly nor to themselves. How important has that been, having that proof of who Sidney is walking around with you every day?
It's I think it's affirmation. It's an affirmation of things that can be done through commitment. I tell people all the time when they see me and I'm thinking about locking my hair and doing it. I said it's a good thing if you're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of young kids out here doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Well, yeah.
But I also follow that up with say it is a commitment because you got to go through different stages. The early stages, what I call the ugly duckly stages, where you look at it like, I ain't too sure about this. And then finally, when it begins to blossom and the fruits of the commitment come through, that's when you really begin to appreciate it.
Well, when you said when it blossoms and you start to see the fruit of the commitment come through, that sounds pretty much like everything we do in life, doesn't it, sir?
Everything we do in life, hey, man, that's it right there in a nutshell.
So on our way out, give something to the people, man, something they could just kind of stand on. It don't have to be as deep as you are, because they'll go right over their head, but just something they could grasp and just say, so they could say, wherever I am, I know I can make it out because Sidney made it out, Bobby made it out. I can do this.
Put it in a nutshell. There was a book that I read and I gave the copy away to someone and never got it back. It always works that way.
Doesn't it?
The truth of the matter is the way is within.
Yes.
The way is within. I think that I was raised Christian. I came up through the Lutheran Church. I began to embrace Eastern philosophies, Taoism, Zen, those kind of things, which I think in turn has made me more Christian-like.
Yes.
But one of the things that I had to embrace, and I always thought this from an early age, look within. You got to go within. Find that love within, and then let that love shine out.
And that's the thing. One of my favorite verses in the Revelation, because I'm a Revelation scholar. It's back in at the end where it says, "And he showed me a pure river of the waters of life, crystal clear, proceeding from the throne of God and of the Lamb. And once we understand that we are that throne of God, that we
Right.
are that, seat of the Lamb, and the love proceeds out from us to then go out, do its perfect work, and return to us, pressed down, shaking together, and run over. Then we on to some. Sydney, man, I enjoyed you so much. Dude, we gonna do this again one day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've enjoyed it immensely. Yeah, we got to do this again. We could probably go on for, we got a good another 30 minutes, a good hour left in it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, man, for being available today. And I look forward to having you back again. And people, once again, this is The Journey. And I am Reverend Bobby, and my guest today was Sydney Simmons, my good friend and Morehouse brother. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.